y'all, how y'all doing? This is Lyne't with the Lyne't Gray Show here on KUAW. Knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Kansas City's first global community radio station. I have to remember to say first. That's why I pause like that. But anyways, you are most likely... Okay, I'm going to say this now because I was watching on Facebook earlier. I was watching T Baby, Truth Be Told, and I was watching Tyrone Gathers Jr.'s Source of the Inkwell. Y'all got to check out them two shows tonight. They are powerful. But anyways, I was watching them on Facebook, and there was technical difficulties. T Baby's was kind of, the signal was going in and out, but Tyrone's, his voice actually slowed really down because it's raining outside. And something going on with Facebook when it comes to, but Twitter was perfect. So I advise everyone to go on ahead and go on over to Twitter and watch the show on Twitter, and you can comment and everything from Twitter. But I just want to welcome you all. Thank you all for joining in. Today is Tuesday, March 22nd of 2022. Y'all, look how it's crazy how much time has gone by so quick. So we have a show where I'm going to address some things. A lot of people ain't going to like what I'm saying. It ain't political. This is going to be personal growth for anybody who watches this show tonight. But we first want to get to my amazing son, Jorge Fuller, with Fuller for the People, who always brings us the most amazing information. And you all remember his name is spelled Jorge, Jorge Fuller, just in case. And if y'all got a candidate, I always tell people this. And this is just kind of off the subject because we're coming into like voting season and everything. If you have a candidate that you don't like, and you know how people say, if you don't vote, you voting for the other person. Write in Jorge's name. That's how you do it. Just write in his name. Even if he ain't running, even if you in Virginia, write in Jorge Fuller. If you in Alabama, write in Jorge Fuller. If you in Ghana, go and just write in Jorge Fuller. They're going to ask, who is this? Don't worry about it. At least you voted. So let me go on ahead and turn it over to Jorge for his Dos Minutos with Jorge's. Hey, son, how you doing?
I'm good. I love the write-in mention. I run, and I like to tell people my campaign is really, truly the definition of grassroots. I don't like to raise money. I really believe that people's income is theirs. If you choose to support financially, great. If you don't, great. Either way it goes, I want you to make sure you pick the person. It is not about the dollar amount the campaign person makes or raises. It's about the actions that they plan on doing when they get into office. And if you don't have someone that is about that action, then don't put your money, your money don't matter there. It's just a waste of dollars. Now, mind you, that gets into my segment. Earlier this week, I got a chance to just go on and be reflective. I would like to say thank you to everyone, including KUAW, the Lyne't Gray Show, the support that I continuously receive. I appreciate it. I don't think anybody actually stops to say thank you. So I'm saying thank you. And I get to look at Mr. Walker and actually get to say thank you, even though it's not in person. And I'm saying that simply because when we talk about civic relationships, we forget there's a two-way street, right? Like you're not supposed to always get. You're supposed to, pass. You're supposed to receive and give back. And we are looking at a system that continuously takes. And that's what capitalism is to continue to take more than what you need because you can take. I will challenge you to look at it and be reflective and start to actually say, what am I truly receiving? And am I actually appreciating what is being given? And I say that because our candidates, we have elected you into office. We want to hold you accountable, but sometimes we forget that you're a human too. So I'm going to say this on the behalf of people. We appreciate the work that you're doing day in, day out. Even if we don't agree with the decisions that you make, we appreciate it because you continue to show up. Now, for my people that continue to advocate and continue to stand with the grassroots and campaigning and voicing your opinion, I want to say thank you on the behalf of the people as well, because you continue to make those waves and change the script and those narratives that continue to be present. When we talk about those relationships, we must understand both groups have to come together. We have to work in harmony. We cannot work as a united front. I believe when we say unity, we think all of one mind, and we shouldn't be one mind. We should be able to work in harmony. So each person plays their note and begins to make a sound that ripples throughout the rest of the world. I'm going to quote a book And this is because I have yet to hear what black boy magic is. I know what black girl magic is, and that's to make amazing without anything. When I look at black boy magic, it is black men especially can transcend the culture stereotypes and live out the full promise of their heritage.
Mm.
That is by Shaka Sonor and Letters to the Sons of Society. And I wanted to say that quote because we have to look at our boys just as much as our girls and say, you are amazing. You are going to be amazing. And the work you do and have done will always be considered amazing, no matter what it is. So those are my Dos Minutos with Jorge. I didn't want to bring anything political because my challenge is that we have enough of a relationship that we can have that dialogue outside of this.
Oh, this is amazing. And I thank you so much because Jorge literally, excuse me, y'all. I was chewing and eating, so I didn't swallow everything. But Jorge literally is hitting on what I'm talking about tonight because I had a show planned and I called the person and I asked them, could we reschedule? And it's funny because when you watch T-Baby's show, she was speaking on it and Jorge came on here with his Dos Minutos and he spoke about accountability and understanding and giving people space to be who and what they are. I'm just going to share what happened, and it causes me to give pause and say, we need to get some accountability. Now, everybody who knows me knows that if something is really going down, I'm the last person to call because I'm going to put a stop to it. And the police going to show up. And that's not me anymore. And so I got a call. And in the midst of getting this call, and I had turned to prayer and talking to this person. And then they start getting into it with the person who they called me about. This person comes into their space. And so, since I'm on the phone, I shut it down the way I shut it down. Now this person turns on me and says, you went overboard. First off, the situation stopped. Because they know I mean business. So once you get me to making promises, I don't throw threats, I make promises. Once you get me to making promises, everybody who knows me knows I'm gonna follow through. So the whole situation stopped. But then the person did not take accountability for the fact that when I said leave it alone, don't say nothing, they went back because now they got an audience. But when you call as a victim, when you don't have accountability, and at the end of the whole situation, Lyne't is the bad guy. I'm the bad guy. You don't act like that, and you toxic, and you need. Hey, I was just praying and cool and trying to be the bearer of good news and just ignore it and move on and this, that, and the other. But when people lack accountability, there is a thing that happens in their mind that they turn themselves, and T-Baby said it best, when you are the constant victim, you always playing the victim, you never take accountability. You never, and you will find that those people are takers. So it goes in hand with what George was saying about being willing to extend a hand and help other people. They always calling somebody with their issues, or they're always in some kind of mess with someone. When it comes down to actually just promoting and supporting people in doing and living their best lives, you won't see those people there. But they're always willing to call other people to draw the energy and the intelligence and the energy and the introspect of other people. But when it comes down to them doing the same for someone else, they're absent. I want to talk about accountability because if we are to heal the black community as a whole, we are to heal the minds. But I'm about to say something that's going to blow a whole lot of people's mind. Y'all notice that weed is becoming legal, and they're like, "Oh, weed is from the earth." This and the other. Weed is. They're going lax on drug abuse. Alcohol abuse, justice for Preston. Look up that hashtag justice for Preston. People are able to drive and get drunk and get passes on being behind the wheel of a car with alcohol in their system, and then get to go to court and treat the family like the family is wrong for grieving after you killed their family member who was at work and you were driving drunk. The courts treated Preston's family like they were the problem, and Preston was the victim. I want you all to just simply look up hashtag justice for Preston. Everybody in that court treated the family like the family were the wrong ones. And they were the victims, and she does not have a victim mentality, and neither does the father, and neither does the siblings. They're still loving people. They didn't allow the fact that a drunk driver took their son, their young son, who had just gotten a good job, away from them and make them hate and turn on everyone. No, they took in, they work with their grief and work with their pain, and they try to work through it, and they're still loving. But it's still grief and pain because the person was murdered by a drunk driver. See, accountability says, oh, he was drunk, it's an accident. No. Victim mentality says, oh, he was drunk, it's an accident. Accountability says you knew you was getting drunk when you left the house with your keys in your car. Accountability says there are taxis everywhere. Accountability says find that L7 friend, the square, find that L7 friend who don't drink and have them go out with you. The one that you know never drinks, and have them go out with you. Accountability simply says, if you're drunk, go up to whoever's hosting the party and say, look, I'm drunk. I'm going to give y'all even one better accountability. I literally would take a man to the doctor because he wasn't supposed to be driving, right? He had a heart condition and everything, and he loved to drink. But I would take him to the doctor when I had my business. And this man explained to me, he said, I pay for the highest level of AAA every year. He said, you want to know why? I said, why? He said, because I go to the, he didn't call it the bar. He called it it's an old Southern name for it. And he said, and I get so bent, I'm sideways. He said, I pick my card up and I tell the bartender, call me a tow truck. So what is that? He's getting his car towed home from the bar. So people like, oh, I don't want to get a cab because I got to go. He paid that, and this was back in 2001. This man was paying for the highest, I think it's platinum, AAA, because he knew he gets drunk. And then another thing he did was he started making friends with the AAA tow trucks. And he'd be like, hey, if you ain't on the call, when you see me ring, you know how much money you make and come get me. But people don't want to take accountability for their actions. So back to the situation where now I'm the bad person, I'm toxic, I need help, I'm crazy, you shouldn't act like this, you're too old to act like this. You should know how people are. And even in me being the way I am, I don't know how people are, but I assume you're just as bad as me when you're angry. I assume that fact. I don't challenge anyone. And I'm going to say this, and I'm not going to say it like that because somebody might hear it, but I'm going to say when you're in a situation that you caused, don't be calling people and then get mad when they handle the situation the way they want to. Because accountability says you better think through how you want the situation handled and you call the appropriate person. You don't call a doer to handle a quote-unquote venting situation. I'm just venting. You don't vent to me. And everybody knows that. You do not. You call the police and then you call me. Because the police need to be there when I pull up because they're going to intercept whatever's going on. And I have come to that conclusion that side of me, I cannot, especially when it's people I care about or people who have got my heart. It's a light switch. It's like turn a light switch on. I don't have a dimmer switch. So anybody who knows that would know. Don't call her to vent. So, but this person now is the whole accountability. Oh, well, you messed it up and you made it worse. Yeah. And at first I felt bad. And I went into meditation and I was like, you really need to change how you are. And then I just clearly heard God say, nah, nah, nah. You handled that one the right way. This is for you to look at that person and their actions, love them, but leave them where they're at and keep them completely out of your life. See, accountability allows you to go within and say, was I wrong? I think I might have been wrong because look how they reacted. But then when you're a highly accountable person, you can clearly hear the truth of the situation. Back to the marijuana. I talk. Go ahead, George.
Because you make mention, and I wanted to connect some dots for people. I got to attend the Amplify conference this past year, and Professor Dr. Chris Emden was one of our speakers, and he describes it. There's three types of people: they're haters, they're suckers, and they're elevators. And right now, what you're talking, I'm like, yo, you hitting on the haters, suckers, and the elevators because I'm an elevator. I'm going to lift you up, right? If you with me, we going up. That's it. That's no other, if we got to go down, that's just to drop you back off because I got to go back up. Yes. But when we look at those suckers, they continuously drain and take energy. They never get anything out of it. They continue to just pull you in to take your stuff. And then the haters are going to always continue to deflate everything that you got to do. Mm-hmm. And I tell people, if you come to me, you got two things that you're going to get. I'm going to poke holes in whatever you got. Because in order for you to pass through me, I want to make sure this is going to be successful. So if I got to poke a hole in it, it's only so that you can be successful when you go talk to someone else when you're presenting your information. So we got to look at it. You just described two of those three people in a matter of seconds. And that's from a Ivy League college professor, Dr. Chris Emden. You can look it up. He had a speech on Amplify, which is a educators of color speech that happened, conference that happens in Kansas City, Missouri. And we have educators of color all across the United States come to Kansas City just for this conference. And he's been a keynote twice that I've gone. So Chris Emden is dope. And he taught your oldest daughter. So I got to shout her out too because I was like, hey, do you know my sister? He was like, yeah, I remember her. So that was my little tidbit jumping in there.
See, that's awesome. And if you don't mind, if you anywhere can get to the Facebook link, if you don't mind putting it in the Facebook actual, not the Zoom, but the Facebook conversation so we can go view that. And he's right. And I, like George, I'm an elevator. Now, granted, the things of life, I have what we call a Samoan temper. That's what my great grandmother called it. She said, "Oh, you got your grandpa, your great grandpa, and your grandpa's Samoan temper." But my preference is to always help you elevate. My preference is to help you change your mind and your thoughts. And I like to ask people, what's your wildest dream? Now let's help you take the steps to get to and achieve your wildest dream. And if you're going forth towards your wildest dream, you don't have time for everything else. You don't have time for the people. I will say this. I learned using my own accountability how to weed out the people out of my life who brought stress, strife, all of that stuff. And how did I learn that using accountability was I learned to listen. They call it discernment. They call it intuition. They call it many other names. Regardless of what you call it, I have a student who calls it perfect self because he's an atheist. But we call it God. We call it God by many different names. Whatever God you worship or deity you worship. Being able to listen to that voice that is speaking to you is a powerful thing. Being able to listen, because when you begin to take accountability, I always tell people this: accountability is love. And love prevents you from being brokenhearted. Love prevents, really bad things from happening to you. And the only reason why I say that is when you become accountable, you can hear. And accountability makes you look at yourself as the common denominator in every situation. So then when you're the common denominator in every situation, you look at yourself as responsible for every situation. Since you, I always say, since you felt like you was too grown to listen to your parents. Once you felt like you was too grown to listen to your parents and you gonna do what you want to do, that's on you. You're the common denominator. And when you realize that you've been the person behind all of the situations that happen with you, you then take a different perspective on who you let in your life. You take a different perspective on who you let in your space, and you learn to listen. We all get that voice from our highest self, as he calls it, his perfect self, or from the God that we worship. We all hear, hurry up and get to your car. Or we all will hear, don't go to that store, or don't pull in there, or don't. I tell people, and this was so amazing because in 2017, I got to hang out with a former high school friend. And I was taking him to a store that he normally always goes to. He said, don't go to that one. And I was right there at the store. And he said, no, leave, don't go to this one. I was like, he said, just listen to me. Don't go to this one. I said, okay. So I left that store and took him clean away. And I'm like, you owe me gas money. He was like, don't worry about it. He gave me gas money and everything. We get back to his house. He turns on the TV. Literally, right after I pulled out the store, somebody got murdered at the door. He would have been walking in or coming out, and that bullet could have hit him. He was like, I told you, I kept hearing for me to go to another store. So as we're coming out, whoever murdered whoever did it was pulling up in their car. And so, but that's learning how to listen. The small things, learning how to listen and do and people think that I only know the Bible. I'm gonna give y'all back history of me. My great grandmother, Mama, she was what they called a Christian metaphysician, but she actually was taught ancient American Indian spirituality, which turned out to line up with ancient African spirituality, which turned out to line up with Sumerian texts, where the Bible and the Abrahamic faith come from. Abraham was a Sumerian. So, and it lines up with Buddhism and Krishna when you know the meanings behind it all. And it all lines up with science and spirituality. Science, math, and spirituality. So it all, when you understand how it all works, and it's a beautiful thing, because once I turned 46, it kicked in real strong. I don't know what happens with the number 46. I don't know, maybe it's because I grew up. I don't know, but it all kicked in really, really strong to me. And my desire is, I know everyone is not going to elevate to a level of I understand that I have. But it's for my desire for people like T-Baby, go back and watch tonight's Truth Be Told. I actually shared it on my Facebook page, but you can look down the Twitter and YouTube and everything line and watch tonight's Truth Be Told. Like she said, it allows you to look at things, because I tell people perspective is personal. When you look at things from a certain perspective, people say, oh, you got to look at it from someone else's perspective. Even though you think you're going over to their perspective, you're still looking at it from your own. You're looking at it from how you think they should look at it. So perspective is personal. But I understand is a whole level of we are all human beings. We are all on this planet having an experience. And I know maybe you're having an experience that I have never had. I know that I go through things daily, so I can only imagine what you go through. That's the level of I understand. But when they got people, the Native Americans, I talked to a Native American today, and he's a long line of shamans. He don't want to be a shaman. I told him, sir, that's just, I mean, you don't want to be it, but you don't have to be it. You know, but he's not ready yet. And I understand, because I wasn't ready for the calling that was put on me. But he said they have the minds of the people to where they can't hear from the Great Spirit, because everybody is always high and drunk. He said the marijuana people blame us for them incessantly and addictively smoking marijuana. He said, but any drugs, if it was marijuana, if it was what they derived LSD from, if it was ayahuasca or however you say that, ayahuasca or whatever, he said all of that was only used when it was time to contact the Great Spirit for pertinent, very important information. They didn't just walk around with their peace pipe smoking marijuana, because that disconnects you from hearing the voice when it's time to take in the peace pipe. You've literally peace piped out, so you cannot hear. Everybody's like, oh, well, you should be able to hear it if you smoke it all the time. No, because you're not tuned into that voice. You're tuned into the voice that says, I gotta have my weed, I gotta have my blunt. You're not tuned into the voice that speaks to you from the Great Spirit. And that's where our accountability is falling short. So many people use an escape. And we wonder how we wind up, and we've wound up in the positions that we're in with everything. And I'm not just talking to black people now, I'm talking to everyone. Everything is controlled by the people who we would call evil and greedy. How did they get there? They got there because they were sober. They got there because they were sober enough to sit there and plot on people who they constantly feed intoxication to. You don't own your own mind. They do. They do the thinking for you. I often told parents when I was a parent that was heavily involved in the schools, I often told parents, I would say, oh, so you letting me make decisions for your child because your child goes to school with mine? I'm going to do what's best for mine. Now, me being the parent that does what's best for my child, I'm the kind that I always think about other people's children too. But look at the condition of our school districts in the black and underprivileged communities. Look at the conditions. I give kudos to the Kansas City Public Schools, because Dr. Bedell came in and he did some changes that people from Kansas City refused to do. He and the school board that we have put in changes that people, since I was in school, when it first started going down with Walter Marks, have refused to do. He did the hard stuff. And he came in and he put the right people in place, Jorge Fuller being one, Richie Cherry being one. They put the right people in place to make the changes needed to be made. And look what happened. But you had to get a sober mind. You had to pull somebody from somewhere, and the reason why I call him a sober mind is because he stood in the shoes of these children. And he's seen the way out. And he knows. And Jorge Fuller and Richie Cherry of BoxOutStress.com, they both have stood in the shoes of these children. So when they encounter people who want to come into this district, they're able to say, will this person benefit this district? Are they coming in? They're able to make a decision with a sober mind. They're not making a decision where, oh, we only want black people working for the district. And then you got some black folk coming in who don't even like the kids that they teaching. Don't even like the kids that they the counselor or the administrator of. You get what I'm saying? They're looking at things with a sober mind. And this is where I need our people to begin to wake up. Because everybody's drinking it up. Everybody's smoking it up. Everybody pill popping. Everybody meth can smoking. And don't nobody, hey, let's even get to it. The eaters, the people who use sex. You don't own your own mind. The gamblers. Something got it. You don't want to deal with whatever is done plagued you. And the easiest thing to do, and I want to give a big shout out to the guy who, he has been my rock since 2020, and I kept avoiding him. But in 2021, he's been my rock, and he's been there when I'm like, look, I'm dealing with too much in life. You can go do what you want to do. I'm done. And he's been there like, no, I'm going to show her I'm solid. When he could have very well been like, okay. And yeah, one time he did just start talking to somebody else a couple of times because he was blocked. But I wasn't dealing with my mess. And I felt, if I got all this mess going on, I don't need no man. Let me deal with my mess by myself. And a man, I don't need no man. But that was me. And when I finally came to realization, sitting down, because I was like, why everybody always want to... And my God said, you had a good one. Look at how many times, go through your phone, see how many times you blocked that man. Go through your Facebook, see how many times you blocked him. Go through your Instagram and everything else and see how many times you blocked that man. Ain't nobody going to keep taking your mess. And that accountability brought me to where I am. I have an ex, and he said something really, really powerful. I talked to him this week. And he's a natural healer. He's a herbalist healer. But they use ancient African spirituality. His lineage, his tribe was one that never gave in to the colonizers. They fought them so fiercely that they were pushed back onto the land away from the shores. But they were the bangers. They was like, y'all not taking our people up out of here. But the colonizers began to, progress forward like Russia's doing with Ukraine. And they had to run and hide in order to save their tribe, which is smart. But he said something. He said their herbal healing, his grandmother told him, thank you, Ezekiel, their herbal healing is rooted in love. When she heals people, it's rooted in love. But the first thing she needs you to do is release all fear. And anything, she said, he told me that she taught him when she's saying man and woman, when we release our fears, our brain is empty. Because majority of our thoughts, almost all of our thoughts are fear-based. So when you completely release all fear, you are able to heal. And sometimes sickness isn't physical. It just expresses itself physically because it's spiritual. It's in the mind. Our situations, I look at all of the people who go and they make things happen. And what is the situation with them? They have released all fear. When you look at a person who's gotten out of jail, they are fearless. They're going to go after. No, the longer they spend in jail, the more fearless they are of coming out and living the life that they dreamed of while they were in and never going back. And these are the people who have released all fear and said, hey, if I get another chance, I'm going to do it right and I'm going to do this. There's some people who come out but they've never healed themselves and had accountability. Those who have done the accountability thing, they're not going back because of how they have changed their lives. Everybody wants to be intoxicated, be it food, gambling, sex, illegal substances, drinking. Everybody, video gaming. Video gaming is now an addiction. And many men, in order to get away from the reality of their relationships, will sit in front of a video game. Accountability, y'all. And not everybody is ready to do this, and I understand this. Not everybody is ready to literally pornography, you're right. Social media, you're right. Not everybody is ready to sit with themselves. T-Baby said something real powerful. When you are accountable, when you stop playing the victim, you can understand that the way people say stuff, it ain't against you. That's just how they are. Some people are very blunt. I literally, sometimes when I'm talking to friends and they'll say something and I'm like, but that don't even make no sense. Why would you do that? And they be like, hey, Lyne't, come on, take the edge off of it. That's kind of blunt. Show me a little. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. And, or like I had a conversation with somebody who I truly respect and we were talking and I'm sitting there and I'm listening to every word he said and he said something. I was like, well, why don't you just tell her she ain't stupid? He was like, wow, Lyne't, could you just, bring it back? Really, you could have said it in another way. But he didn't become offended at it. And like T Baby said, just because somebody's a certain way, I literally knew a man that I called a grumpy old man, and I was the only person who could ever get a smile out of him. After a while, he would tell people I was his granddaughter, and he was an old white man who always wore overall bibs, and he, no matter the weather, he had on him a flannel or a flannel print shirt. He didn't play, and he kept him a toothpick in his mouth, and he didn't like nobody. Didn't like nobody. First introduction to me, he looked me up and down. I got in my truck. He said, "You a pretty little fat A woman." I said, "Well, dang, thank you too. With your fat A." And he started laughing. He was like, "Well, I normally offend everybody." I said, "You can't offend me, sir." And by the end of that, he was like, "I'm really going to miss you." He said, "I'm getting ready to get out of here because I'm getting ready to go have quadruple bypass, but I want you to pray for me." He said, "But it's still God's will be done." He said, "I don't want your heart broken if you hear anything bad." He said, "But you my favorite person here." Why? Because I understood everybody has their life situation. And I'm like, yeah, he's got a smart mouth, but that's just how he is. He ain't through no color, no N-words, no none of that at me. He just called me fat. Yeah, that's offensive, but it's the truth. Accountability. You get what I'm saying? Accountability. People get mad because people say stuff about fat people, but you fat. I mean, half of us don't even want to be fat. Now, when you just being mean, I have my sister, God rest her soul, and she passed away on the same day Granny Charlie did a year earlier, March 30th, so this is going to be hard for me, y'all. But my little sister, Talia, she was fat. And we used to go get Talia. Anybody from Van Horn can tell you, anybody who went to school with Talia, you go pull Talia out of class. And somebody want to call themselves talking about somebody, they would go get Talia and bring Talia into the other class. And the teacher would sit there while Talia just rolled that person. Rolled them to the point they got quiet. Because you want to bully? Oh, we going to go get somebody who going to roll. She going to roll you. She going to roll you so bad that we still telling these jokes 30 years later. Be like, remember when she said this about this person? But the first thing people want to say is, "Oh, you fat." She's like, "Okay, well, I know that. Now let's get on you." But that's accountability. We have got to stop being such a victim mentality people. We've got millionaires and we've got billionaires who have not become millionaires and billionaires because they are pacifying their pain with an addiction. Like George said, porn, social media. I said, food, sex, drugs, alcohol, gambling. We pacify our addictions instead of taking full control of who we are. Sitting back and having accountability. And then y'all want to hang out with people who want to act a fool, fight, jump on folks. Like literally, I was talking to a young man, and this young man, not talking to, but like conversing with. And this young man has everything in the world going for him. Everything majority of black men want. He has at his fingertips and is living it. But his mind and his entertainment is filled with the foolishness of banging, gang banging. I understand once a Crip, always a Crip. You ain't gonna never get out. I grew up in the hood. I know this. But you too old to still give your energy to it. His life is filled with chasing the women that you know are problems and then turning around and complaining about them being problems to the point that I started telling him, you like it. You want this to happen to you. You keep going after it. It's going to happen. Don't complain about these women. And sure, don't call me and complain because you like it. I'm going to keep telling you that. But no accountability. And every time I hold him accountable, he reels it back in, but then he goes back into his own world. And he goes back into his own world of no accountability. Certain situations we have in life as adults, we are like, man, like I tell people, I was in that wreck. And the only way I take accountability for that wreck is because I heard myself say, go get Dapper Dan for work. And I said, no, I'm going to get a little bit more money before I pick up Dapper Dan. And then I heard, you don't have enough time to get more money before you go pick up Dapper Dan. And I was like, I got enough time for one. And I went the opposite direction that I would have went if I was going to go get Dapper Dan, and got the back blown off my vehicle and have not worked since. Accountability. Yes, he's responsible for blowing his sign because I had the right of way and he was driving like somebody was chasing him and shooting at him. But if I look back, I could have saved myself this headache had I just went to go get Dapper Dan. George, I don't know if you have anything you have to say, if you have anything you want to say, and I'm going to, let me know if you do. Go ahead. Oh, you good?
Yeah, I'm just coming in. I had to make sure I hit the unmute button because I will talk and be still muted. Looking at this as you look at holding yourself accountable, I would say the only addition that I have to it is make sure you forgive yourself. Decisions that you make in the past don't always come out to fruition or impact your future in the way you thought it was supposed to or wanted it to be, but it is what it's supposed to be. And so I always say to people, make sure you forgive yourself for those little things that add up to big things and those big things that you didn't think you would be a part of and you were a part of it. Forgive yourself. And the hardest part is that we don't know what forgiveness truly is. And we look at it from that may be another episode, but we look at it from the angle that I can forget about it and I've forgiven myself for it. And that's not it. Forgiveness is a completely different statement and you don't have to forget it, but you do have to understand that you were human and mistakes were made. And anything that you're addicted to, you can forgive yourself and you can reclaim your control. I remember telling one person that told me that they're an alcoholic and everything else. And I told them when we prayed, the only thing that I said to them was, hey, once you decide that this is no longer for you, you're no longer in it. And all you have to do is continue to listen to that decision. And so that point forward, I don't know if he's still going through it, but he wanted to pray some more. I was like, well, I don't know you like that. But at the same token, I hope that humanity that we had together, that moment is still present within his heart to know that he made a decision that this was no longer for him and it was supported beyond that. And then the last part I would say is a part of accountability is creating your regiment. The man that paid more for the tow services. And I was like, that's genius. But the other part is like, I know for myself, we do this at home. We don't go out and do it because accountability says I can be safe and have my good time in my own house without having to put anyone else at risk. And so I would say those are the things. Being accountable is giving yourself a regiment, but along with accountability, make sure you forgive yourself for your humanity.
On the head, because when you're accountable, and that's the thing of it. I was talking to my son, both of my sons earlier today, and I said accountability allows you to look at the past and analyze the past, but realize you cannot change it. It is what it is. The things have happened, and you giving thought or energy to it will not change that thing that happened in your past. You giving thought or energy to it will not change that thing that you feel every time you think about it. So you have to release yourself, release the fear. And then you have to focus on being present in the day. But like George said, I always call, like you said, I call it systems. You create systems for success. You decide what you want in the future, but you don't focus on the future. You focus on, once you speak and pray of what you want, then you listen to your perfect self or whatever God you worship, whatever deity you look up to. And you allow them to give you your step-by-step instructions and you listen. The man who said he wants to stop drinking, there's a way you can do that. I have a spiritual life coaching business called Ascending the Power of I Am, and I've helped people. I encourage professional help. I am only a coach. I only give you tools that, should you use them, I know can help you with your life. I tell all of my people, I encourage you to go get professional therapy as well, with a professional, and don't stop until you know you have control. But there is a way to help him stop the alcoholism. There is a way to help him overcome the cravings. There's a way that he don't even have to overcome the cravings. They just disappear. But we have to learn first off that the stuff we know, this is how you help yourself in accountability, and this is how you forgive yourself. Everything that you thought you knew before this show, you didn't know. You didn't know. You had a clue, but you didn't know. And so when you understand that every day is a different day, and you're learning and you're growing and you're getting better, and you keep your focus, you always hear me say energy flows where attention goes, and you are energy. So if your attention and your mindset and your thoughts and your emotions are on the things of the past, what has to happen? You have to recreate the past in your present day or in your future. Let me say that again, because I think I might have said that too fast. If your attention, if your thoughts and your emotions are on negative things.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
See if I can get that out of here. There we go.
That's all right, because we know there's always an interference when God trying to talk. You ain't stopping no show. You ain't stopping no show for real. So I'm going to say it again. Let me put some Jesus on it now. When your attention, when your thoughts, and when your emotions are stuck in the past or a negative situation, you must create that situation for your present and your future. I want everybody to remember these 4 things because, see, that just pissed me off because I know what it is. I want y'all to remember these 4 things, and then we're going to get up out of here. There's 4 words. There are 5 creator words. The name of God. I am, me, my, and myself. When you speak those words, whether you're saying it in your mind or whether you are saying it to someone in passing, the word of God said, I will not hold him guiltless who uses the name of the Lord in vain. The name of God is I am, me, my, and myself. So every word that comes after that, you have to live it. I need y'all to understand this. God doesn't hold you guiltless. That's what that means. The name of God should not be spoken in vain. And what it means in vain is you don't think of the words you say after you say I am, me, my, and myself. You just talk. So then you got to live it. Lilo made her appearance right at the end of the show. And I just want to encourage y'all. Accountability is not beating yourself up. Accountability is understanding that you are not where you were yesterday, and that was your decision yesterday. Accountability is also not allowing yourself to be a victim. Accountability is listening to your perfect self, your God, or your deity that you worship when they are telling you something long in advance. Even if before you leave your house, you hear, don't take the car, take the bus, take the bus. This is Lyne't with the Lyne't Gray Show. And we're here with Fuller for the People, our special guest. Thank you so much, Jorge. I appreciate your input. And Jorge brings the education to my life experience, and I love it. Thank you, son, so much. I want to thank Mr. Walker. I want to thank Miss Walker. I want to thank KUAW and Black Family Technology Awareness Association. Another thing, accountability, truck drivers and other 1099ers, accountability, you can donate to them and do your write-off. Do it now. to where you make your quarterly taxes cheaper. Go on ahead, donate to them. Your quarterly tax is gonna be cheaper. And end of year filing is definitely gonna be cheaper. Send that $500.
Just go ahead and donate 500.
Yeah, that's what I said. 500.
Donate 500.
Send that 500 and just go on ahead and wipe it all out for the year. BFTAA and Easting Village, BFTAA and KUAW Radio. Go on ahead and send that 500. You ain't got to worry about it later on in the year. This is Lyne't Gray Show here on KUAW. I'll see y'all next Tuesday. I think it's gonna be the 28th or the 28th or the 29th. Next Tuesday, the 29th, 8:00 p.m. ish Central Standard Time. Accountability. I'm late everywhere. I'm gonna be late to my funeral. Y'all take care. Bye bye.